4 things that make you prone to the manipulation of Dark Triad personalities. Let's do a quick overview of what Dark Triad personalities even are. So the first type of Dark Triad personality is psychopathy. Basically, psychopaths are known for their coldness, their lack of remorse, their lack of conscience. They have no guilty conscience. They won't hesitate to throw you under the bus for their personal gain and not feel bad about it, not even think twice about it. They just don't give a to be honest. And the next Dark Triad personality is narcissism. Now this word loves to be thrown around on the internet, but narcissists are notorious for their inflated sense of self. Their ego is through the roof. But the key thing that makes the narcissist different from the other two is that behind their facade, their grandiosity and their illusion of grandeur is that they really have low self-esteem. They really don't think too highly of themselves. So they overcompensate with this persona that they're better than everyone else. And so they really make it a point to make it known that they're better than you personally. And the last Dark Triad personality is machiavellianism. What makes them different is that their whole thing is by any means necessary. They're all about the bottom line. They're very conniving and plotting, always trying to finesse and have a plan to get something out of the situation, get something from you. And similar to the other two, all 3 can be very manipulative. There's overlap with all 3 personality types. They typically believe it's better to be feared than loved. They tend to be very cynical, hypercritical of others. And if you ever met one of these types, or if you ever do meet one of these types, you'll be able to tell, you'll be able to know. Just look into their eyes and ask yourself, what do you genuinely feel when you're around them? If you look into their eyes and feel nothing but dread, run. And if you're in an environment where you have to interact with them on a daily basis, I would just limit contact as much as possible, deal with them as little as possible, and get out of that situation as quickly as possible. And I find it no coincidence that as you climb the corporate ladder, you find more of these personality types to be common. I saw a stat that said 2 out of 5 CEOs of Fortune 500 companies are psychopaths. That just speaks for itself. So the first thing that makes you susceptible to the manipulation of Dark Triad personalities is having unfulfilled needs. The thing to watch out for these types is that they're very good at identifying and assessing the weaknesses in other people. You get around these types of people and they sense something lacking within you, they can pick up on that instantly, and the manipulation has already started. Because you may get around these types and think, oh wow, they're so charismatic, they're so charming, they're so competent, they're very good at what they do. Maybe something within yourself you wish you had the confidence they had, or you see something in them that you want to be more like. You see something in them that you aspire to be. When you get around them, they play off of that. And one of the favorite things that these types like to do is project a false self onto you. And once you subscribe to that false self, you're gonna subscribe, like and subscribe, really appreciate it. And so when you subscribe to this false self that they project onto you, they're able to better manipulate and get what they want from you on the basis that you subscribe to a version of yourself that is easier for them to control. For example, say you're someone who is starved for validation, or someone who grew up not getting loved in the way that you needed to be loved. That could be validation, physical touch, affection. And so this could lead to you growing up caring too much what people think, being too overly dependent on whether or not someone gives you that validation. So these Dark Triads, they're able to use that to their advantage. The solution for this is to use your intuition, trust your gut feeling when you're around these types of people. How do you genuinely feel when you're around them? Do you really feel at ease? Or is your gut telling you, something's not quite right with this person? Probably keep my distance. Because if you don't, you're gonna find yourself in a place where you don't want to be anyway. And I know that could be misleading, because the thing with these Dark Triads is that they're good at keeping up appearances, putting on the facade, and making you feel like you can trust them genuinely. To that I would say observe them in other types of settings. How are they on a one-on-one? Do you find that they act differently in front of other people? And I'm not saying that that's always a bad thing, because the way you present yourself is important in different settings, but the level of switching up I'm talking about is a completely different persona, a completely different personality change. Their traits just do 100% 180. They're like chameleons. Now I'm not talking about mirroring energy or mirroring body language or mirroring people, matching them on the level that they're at. That's actually a good way to build rapport and build that connection with someone. The level I'm talking about is to a degree that it's just so obvious. You'll be able to tell, whoa, you're a completely different person in this setting with these type of people versus when you're around these two this way and around this person. It's just a night and day difference. And I trust that you'll be able to use your discernment to tell the difference. And so the thing with these dark triads is that they are chameleons. They don't have a sense of self. It's like the lights are on but nobody's home. And so that's why they can throw somebody under the bus and not think twice about it. That's why they can literally destroy the lives of others and not even bat an eye. But also the thing to remember is that psychopathy and narcissism are actual personality disorders, while machiavellianism isn't an actual diagnosis that you can give someone. But still, the common thing with these three is that they're literally incapable of empathy. And so having unfulfilled needs can often stem from unprocessed trauma. And that's the second thing that makes you susceptible to their manipulation. Having unprocessed trauma growing up could lead you to seeking different things from people in an unhealthy way. It can lead you to staying in toxic situations, toxic relationship dynamics. Because of that unprocessed trauma, you're not able to detach and realize that this is actually unhealthy. For example, if you have abandonment issues, these dark triad types will prey on that and use that so that you cave in and they get what they want. These dark triad personality types know exactly what buttons to press based on that unprocessed trauma that manifests as unfulfilled needs that you have. They can sense your emotional fragility and gaslight you into distorting your reality to conform to theirs. And, of course, gaslighting is telling someone else how they should feel, dictating to them what their emotions should be in order to fit into what you want them to think. It's kind of like puppet strings. You're literally pulling the strings on their emotions and manipulating how they should feel in order to fit into what they want. And not only how you should feel, but insisting that events happened differently than they did. And so making you misremember things that, oh no, that never happened, or no, it was this, and it was like they're really trying to control you, really mess with your mind and destroy your reality. It's very dark stuff. They're forcing you to fit into their twisted shoes. The solution to this is definitely seek professional help. The longer these traumas go unresolved, unprocessed, and suppressed within, the more that it'll be a weak point that these dark triads can exploit. The next thing that makes you susceptible to their manipulation is having a big heart, being too empathetic, caring too much. I'm not saying it's bad to put yourself in the shoes of others. It's actually a very good quality to have. But the thing is that by you being so willing to put yourself in the shoes of others, these dark triads will twist and mangle that shoe and then expect you to contort yourself and to fit into that shoe, which is no good for you. And guess what? Because you have such a big heart and you're so nice, you're so giving, you're so empathetic, that you'll be more willing to actually fit into that because you're too nice and you don't want to let anyone down. You don't want to ruffle any feathers. Because you have trouble setting those boundaries, you won't hesitate to bend over backwards to contort yourself in the twisted shoes they made for you. Again, not saying that it's bad to have a big heart. I'm just saying that you have to know your boundaries, set those and enforce those. Because remember, the key with these dark triad personalities is that they have no regard for your boundaries as a human being. Like, they literally don't see you as a human being. They don't even see themselves oftentimes as humans. So why would they see you? Because they have such a low opinion of themselves, they project that onto other people. And so sometimes when you enter into a relationship with one unknowingly, they lose all respect for you because they don't respect themselves. So when they see someone respect them and actually want them, it's like, how can I respect you for respecting me when I don't even respect myself? That's the psyche that these dark triads have. And so it's critical that you know your boundaries, or else you'll be left high and dry by someone who takes a mile when you give an inch. And of course, this brings me to my last point on the things that make you susceptible to their manipulation is the lack of self-knowledge. How can you know your boundaries when you don't even know yourself? Knowing your boundaries comes from knowing yourself and knowing what you won't tolerate in any given situation, whether it's a professional, workplace setting, romantic, personal, friendship, whatever. Knowing what lines to cross. How will you know what lines they've crossed if you don't draw those lines from the beginning? See, a healthy relationship has boundaries. A healthy relationship is based on love and respect for the other person. And the thing with these dark triads is that they don't respect anyone, let alone themselves. So how can you expect them to respect you? Knowing your boundaries is one thing, but actually expressing them, articulating them clearly is a different matter. But knowing yourself is the first step, because you have to know yourself in order to be in tune with what boundaries are important to you for these dark triads to never cross. These dark triads, they love to use that superficial charm, that ability to make you feel like you've known them forever. It's very subtle. It's very low key. You gotta really have the discernment in the eye in order to notice it. So just sit back and observe. Really trust your instinct when you're around these types, or when you think you've encountered them. Notice the little backhanded compliments they may give you, the little passive-aggressive microaggressions that transgress. Passive-aggressive microaggressions that transgress. Be aware of the false self that they project onto you.
You are a blowfish.
What?
A blowfish, think about it.
Quick story. I had a friend who encountered one of these dark triad personality types in college, and my friend is very sociable, outgoing. This particular dark triad saw my friend just being himself, expressing himself openly, being him. Very warm, inviting person, right? So the dark triad said to my friend, "Oh, you're a ladies' man." This is the false self. This is the bait.
And that's you. You are a blowfish.
And I know my friend, I know that that's not his character at all. Like, he's definitely not the ladies' man type, the player type. So this is the false self, the dark triad projected onto my friend, right? So it wasn't until the dark triad found out that my friend was a virgin, the dark triad finally had some dirt on him, some dirt on my friend. And then it was like the dark triad was licking his chops like, oh yeah, we got some dirt on him. And then so the dark triad started to say things and do little things to make my friend second guess himself and the value that he had in himself and his confidence.
I'm a blowfish. You are a blowfish. Say it again.
I'm a blowfish.
Say it like you mean it.
I'm a blowfish!
Blowfish! That's
Yeah!
By projecting that false self, using a measuring stick that, oh, you're not a ladies' man, you're still a virgin.
But you see, it's just all an illusion.
Basically the idea that the more women you sleep with, the more of a man you are, the more cool you are. And so by using that measuring stick to measure the coolness, the value of my friend, the value as a man of my friend, he was able to knock his confidence down peg by peg by peg to the point where my friend wanted to be more like the dark triad. You see the dynamic, you see the toxicity. So by identifying that weak point, he was able to really dig deep into the psyche of my friend and make him aspire to be more like him because of a weakness that he saw within my friend. And by using that BS metric of, oh, the more girls you sleep with, that's how my friend fell into that trap. See, when you don't know yourself, dark triad is able to project that false self onto you. Because you don't know yourself, you won't have the discernment to not subscribe to the measuring stick that they're using to measure your value or whatever it is that they're trying to tell you you're not good enough. It's like, nah, I know myself enough to know true measure of a man is not the amount of women he slept with, but his character, how he treats people, who he is at the core, not just using girls as sex objects, not just throwing people under the bus for your own personal gain, not just literally manipulating the psyche of people in order to make them more dependent on you for whatever superficial thing. And so this is why it's important to know yourself. You can watch this video on the importance of knowing yourself and the dangers of lack of self-knowledge and where that can lead in life. Learn about the dangers of not knowing yourself. Yeah.